Echoes of Empire, a channel that explores world history through dramatic storytelling. Welcome to Echoes of Empire, where history is told not just through dates and names, but in stories that breathe life into the past. Here, we journey into the shadows of empires and follow the echoes left behind by conflict and hope. If you're drawn to tales woven with cinematic detail and timeless narration, consider subscribing so you never miss a story that shapes how we see our world. In this video, we step into Austria at a crossroads. Emerging from the devastation of the Second World War, amid bombed boulevards and shuttered cafes, the country faces hunger, occupation, and the daunting challenge of rebuilding from ruin. Through this journey, we'll explore how desperation, resilience, and ultimately the Marshall Plan changed the fate of a nation facing an uncertain future. Chapter 1. Shadows over Vienna. The war's end brings neither comfort nor safety to Vienna, Instead, a deep and bitter silence hangs over the city, broken only by the rumble of military trucks and the distant tolling of church bells. Rubble lines the streets where grand balls once played. Those who endure do so with ration books in hand, their lives measured out in calories, queuing for hours just to claim a crust of bread or a handful of coal. Rows of shattered buildings testify to nights when firestorms turned Vienna's skyline into a burning horizon. Families huddle in what remains of chilly apartments, patching windows with cardboard against the biting winter. The laughter and music that once spilled from Vienna's famed cafes are now replaced by whispered fears and boarded doors. There are no feasts, only the scraping together of small meals, and dreams shaped by hunger and memory. Hope, like bread, is rationed. Each day becomes a quiet struggle for survival beneath the ever-watchful eyes of occupying forces. Children gaze through frosted glass, imagining the warmth and abundance that once seemed so ordinary. The old city wears its scars openly, holding fast to dignity even as uncertainty reigns. In this grey twilight, Austria stands at the edge of despair, awaiting a sign that recovery and renewal are still possible. Chapter 2. The Bitter Price of War. In the aftermath of defeat, Austria's landscape is marked not only by shattered buildings, but by gnawing hunger. Bread lines lengthen through cobbled streets, as ration cards become a lifeline for weary families. The once vibrant markets are empty, their stalls stripped bare by years of want. In homes where laughter used to echo, silence presses in, heavy with the uncertainty of a country searching for hope. Children stand with hollow eyes at doorways, clutching faded photographs of fathers lost or taken. The war's end has not brought peace to their tables. It has ushered in a new struggle for every meal. Mothers scrape remnants from battered pots, sharing what little remains. Villages that once flourished together now feel the isolation of fragmented destinies, as neighbours wonder who among them will see the next winter through. Austria, once united beneath imperial banners, is now carved into Allied zones. American, Soviet, British, and French soldiers patrol boundaries both real and imagined. The lines drawn on maps are echoed in the hearts of a divided people. Movement between zones is heavily restricted, each crossing a reminder of autonomy lost. In this fractured land, suspicion grows, and whispers of blame ripple through communities unable to escape the shadow of a shared defeat. Questions of guilt and responsibility linger in every conversation. Who bears the scars of complicity? Who carries the burden of survival? Austrians silently debate these questions as they wait in lines for meagre rations or gather in dimly lit parlours recalling what once was. The pain of occupation stretches beyond borders, residing instead in memories, in dreams deferred, and in the quiet acknowledgement that the world they knew has vanished. In the cold quiet of kitchens, defeat hangs like a chill. Pots simmer with thin broth, and every meal is a reminder of loss and endurance. Yet, amid the hardship, a fragile sense of resilience emerges. Even as Austria sits amidst ruins, a people tired, divided, and uncertain. A flicker of resolve persists. There is an unspoken hope, faint but steadfast, that through this suffering, something new and lasting might one day be born. Chapter 3. A fateful conference, and Tan, too, that Nina the Frane, or the Spateful. In Vienna's scarred city centre, the pulse of a battered nation beats on. Huddled in cramped offices, Austria's provisional government faces a task both monumental and immediate, staving off starvation. Ministers shuffle stacks of famine reports, their faces drawn with exhaustion. Outside, the city's fragile peace is pierced by the clamouring needs of thousands, the air thick with uncertainty and the echo of unanswered pleas. Within these improvised corridors of power, debates grow heated. How to keep bakeries open when flour is gone. How to counsel patience to a public that has lost all patience. Each new dispatch brings fresh reminders of desperation, a child fainting in line for broth, a farmer's cart overturned, bread loaves stolen in a frantic scuffle. The sense of national responsibility is acute. A fragile unity kindled by crisis, straining under scarcity. International headlines amplify Austria's distress. In Paris and London, influential papers publish stark stories, photographs of gaunt-faced children, reports of protests outside soup kitchens, and grave warnings that another harsh winter could shatter Austria's recovery. Diplomats in dark suits gather in hushed rooms, threading Austria's fate through the tapestry of post-war Europe. Diplomacy, though vital, offers little reprieve for empty stomachs or fading hope. Yet, amid this bleakness, a new rumour emerges. Soft as a rumour, yet bright as a flare in the dark. Whispers trade through ministers' offices and newsrooms of a potential American intervention. The words are almost fantastical, a Marshall Plan. An unprecedented offer of foreign aid. Few dare believe it, recalling so many broken promises, yet the faint lustre of hope glimmers in the eyes of Austria's weary officials. A telegram arrives, sealed and official, bearing news of American willingness to consult with European leaders. It ripples through Vienna's makeshift administration like a breeze through shuttered halls. For the first time in months, anxious ministers pause. Outside, winter's grip still holds, but in the worn chambers of power, the promise of dialogue hints at a turning tide. Hunger still reigns, but hope, silent and cautious, awakens. Chapter 4. Seeds of Recovery, Ender and People. In the bleak aftermath of war, hope arrives not with a single voice, but in the quiet unveiling of the European recovery programme. The air shifts as news spreads. America will send aid across the Atlantic. Cities stir with curious anticipation, wondering if this plan, whispered in halls of diplomacy, will finally relieve their battered streets and empty cupboards. A new chapter for Europe and Austria begins to take shape. Marshall Plan posters, newly printed and brightly coloured, are fastened to weathered walls and battered lampposts throughout Austrian towns. Their bold symbols proclaim unity and progress, painting visions of neighbourly cooperation instead of rivalry. For weary citizens, each poster is both a promise and a question. Can foreign aid mend what years of war have broken? Suspicion wars with hope in the hearts of those passing by, caught between doubt and longing. Austria, once carved apart by occupiers, now finds itself among the nations selected for American assistance. In offices and cafes, conversations pulse with the news. The country, still haunted by hunger and ration cards, dares to imagine a future rebuilt on international generosity. For many Austrians, this milestone seems revolutionary. A signal that the outside world has not forgotten their plight, and that prosperity might yet return to the heart of Europe. Convoys of trucks heavy with flour, canned goods, and machinery roar across countryside roads lined with watchful faces. Each delivery marks more than just sustenance. It is a lifeline thrown to villages whose children have known want for too long. Farmers, shopkeepers, and mothers alike listen for the rumble of engines in hopes their lives will grow a little easier. Scenes of unloading crates become early signs of renewal, stirring cautious optimism. Cautious hope spreads alongside American aid. Families gather, examining new goods that arrive like small miracles, sacks of grain, bars of soap, sturdy tools. The impact ripples beyond city limits, lifting community spirits as towns begin to repair, rebuild, and trust in change. Austria's destiny is subtly transformed, not only by what arrives in these convoys, but by the collective belief that recovery is truly within reach, bound by cooperation rather than competition. Chapter 5. Bread and Hope. The first shipments arrive at dawn. Flour in bulging sacks, medicine in carefully labelled crates, and sturdy new machine parts. In the battered courtyards and warehouses of Vienna, workers and soldiers alike watch as these treasures from distant lands are unloaded. Each crate is a lifeline, a testament to survival. The city, bruised but breathing, senses that something profound has changed in the air. Bakeries, long silent or shuttered by scarcity, whir back to life. The scent of fresh bread, a memory nearly lost, wafts through bombed-out streets, stirring memories of abundance. Workers knead dough by hand under hanging bulbs, mixing hope with every loaf. Outside, queues form quickly. Some wait for hours, clutching ration cards, their faces gaunt but eyes bright with anticipation. The simple act of baking becomes a symbol of continuity and resilience. Aid distribution centres bustle beneath faded banners. Shelves are stacked high with tinned goods and white flour as workers. Some foreign, some local, do their best to keep order. There are hushed exchanges in many languages and a cautious mingling between Austrians and the international aid teams. Amid the nervous activity, shy smiles break out, turning strangers into neighbours. Relief mingles with gratitude, dispelling some of the fear and suspicion that clung to the city for years. For the first time since war's end, street corners resonate not only with the clang of hammers rebuilding walls, but with conversations filled with tentative hope. Children skip along the cobblestones, clutching chunks of bread still warm from the oven. Women exchange recipes and laughter, voices ringing above the ruins. Each bite offers reassurance. That rebuilding is possible, that hunger does not have to be destiny, and that each day brings a small return of dignity. Vienna's long shadow of deprivation is pierced by small acts of generosity. An elderly baker hands out an extra roll to a tired mother. Aid workers slip biscuits to ragged children. These moments, quiet and real, ripple outward, reminding a city starved for hope that the world has not forgotten it. With each delivery truck, each loaf and each handshake, the foundations of recovery settle more firmly beneath Vienna's scarred streets. Chapter 6. Rebuilding by Hand and Heart, E.S. Across Vienna and far beyond, morning brings the sounds of hammers striking metal, wood creaking against scaffolds, and voices lifted in shared labour. The city's wounds are everywhere, yet hope radiates from busy construction sites. Each nail driven and brick stacked tells of a people unwilling to surrender to the ruins, determined to shape a new life with their own hands and indomitable spirit. Scaffolding climbs against broken facades, and workers assemble in the dust. For many, these are familiar streets, now unrecognisable, but alive with ambition. Engineers pore over blueprints, where once only empty lots remained. Women, sleeves rolled and faces set, join the men in the work of rebuilding, proving indispensable. Their laughter and sweat mingle in the morning air, forging a fresh sense of unity among survivors of war's devastation. In the shadow of battered factories, once silent machines shiver and awaken. The Marshall Plan brings new tools from the West, gleaming, unscarred, and full of promise. Retraining programs spark the minds of craftsmen and apprentices alike, teaching the mysteries of modern engines and electric power. These gifts do not erase hardship, but they kindle momentum, stoking the dormant fires of Austria's industrial strength and civic pride. Former assembly lines, some echoing with the ghosts of hunger, now pulse with energy and purpose. Workers, old and young, learn to master unfamiliar levers, guiding molten metal and spinning shafts. The air fills with the hum of industry being reborn and the scent of oil and hot steam. Each shift is a step away from deprivation, toward prosperity. Overnight, progress seems visible, yet every inch is hard-won and dearly valued. There is no one hero in this chapter. Instead, it is the countless hands. Farmers turned masons, machinists, women in headscarves, engineers returning from exile. Together, rebuilding community and country. With Marshall Plan fuel burning in new generators and hope flickering in every heart, Austria's destiny is shaped not only by outside aid but by the tenacity and courage of its people, building anew brick by brick. Chapter 7. The Promise of Industry. In the echoing chambers of Austria's reborn factories, steel gleams beneath harsh lights and machines thunder with renewed vigour. The long silence of war is replaced by the ceaseless rhythm of production, forging rails, beams and bolts that will piece a fractured nation together. Each locomotive built, each yard of cloth woven, stands as a testament to a people embracing hope and the dignity of labour once again. Smoke winds above the rooftops of Linz and Vienna, tracing the pulse of steel mills and textile plants below. Locomotives emerge from assembly lines, their polished hulls reflections of a country on the move. With every clang of the blacksmith's hammer and churning of spinning frames, Austria breathes in unity and purpose. These are not just goods for export, but the lifeblood of renewal flowing from proud, weathered hands. Dawn whistles cut through the mist, summoning thousands to work where war once left emptiness. Assembly floors are crowded with new apprentices, old masters, and engineers. For the first time in years, wages stretch further, putting bread and butter back on family tables. The hum of commerce fills the air. Railway cars and bolts of dyed cloth, destined for neighbours abroad, signal Austria's return to the world market, step by determined step. The government's resolve lends order to this awakening, blending Marshall Plan vision with Austrian skill. Production quotas motivate, yet each achievement is measured not just in numbers, but in human pride. Austrians find themselves stitching their destinies into the very seams of exported textiles and the rivets of outbound steam engines. Recovery, at last, is not an abstract goal. It pulses beneath work-hardened fingers each shift, each day. Austria's economy finds its footing on the anvils of industry. The stubborn memory of hunger fades beside the certainty of productivity. As goods roll out from factory gates, hope ripples through villages and city squares alike. The world takes notice. The nation is no longer a shadow of its past, but a partner in Europe's rebirth. In the chorus of machines and laughter at shift's end, Austria's new age of promise quietly arrives. Chapter 8. Bridges rebuilt, borders redefined. In the quiet after the storm, Austria's scars began to heal. Across rivers and valleys, new bridges took shape from the twisted remnants of war. Railways and highways no longer echoed with only memories, but the steady hum of renewed purpose. Towns once isolated by broken tracks and shattered spans found themselves connected again, as people and goods could finally flow freely into the heart of the country. Steel girders rose where rubble once crumbled, symbolic of more than physical repair. Each plank and rail stitched together communities, not just in Austria but reaching out toward Europe beyond. Trade resumed, markets bloomed once more, and laughter returned to stations that, not long before, had been haunted by silence and loss. The pulse of commerce strengthened, carrying hopes of prosperity on every train that sped through these rebuilt corridors. With infrastructure mended, Austria welcomed opportunity across its borders. Economic ties with neighbours, forged through necessity and nurtured by trust, grew resilient. What we didn't had. The Austrian shilling, battered yet not broken, found stability as farmers, merchants and manufacturers reclaimed their livelihoods. The effects of international aid were visible not only on balance sheets but in the durability of daily life, where confidence gradually replaced anxiety about tomorrow. As prosperity took tentative roots, a new sense of political cooperation blossomed. Austrian leaders met with their European counterparts. Old divisions softened by the shared scars of conflict and panned. Agreements were brokered, not with suspicion, but with a spirit of collective advancement. Common projects were envisioned, from trade policies to cultural exchanges. Austria's place in Europe transformed from isolated outpost to engaged partner, helping shape a continent eager for unity. Once, borders were lines of suspicion, guarded and grim. Now they offered opportunity. Where passport checks had meant anxiety, customs officers now greeted travellers with nods and open gates. The legacy of rebuilding was more than steel and stone. It lay in minds open to connection, in dreams unbound by geography. Austria looked outward, partaking in the shared destiny of a Europe that was learning, slowly, to find hope in cooperation rather than fear. Chapter 9. Lifting the Veil of Scarcity. In the gentle light of a new dawn, Austria's city streets hum with an energy not felt for years. No longer do shop windows reveal only empty shelves. Instead, they gleam with the promise of daily essentials. The transformation is quiet yet profound, an overture to resilience after darkness. It is here, among the markets and bakeries, that hope gradually takes root in everyday life. Stalls in the bustling markets overflow with fresh produce and household staples. Age-worn hands exchange coins, and merchants greet their neighbours with laughter rather than sighs. The sight of children skipping through the avenues, their pockets jingling with saved coins, marks a profound change from the silence of hunger. The air shivers with the rustle of paper bags, voices raised in bargaining, and music floating from open windows, signifying life's return to normalcy. The scarcity that once haunted every household now gives way to cautious abundance. Families gather around kitchen tables rich with variety unknown just months ago. There is a new rhythm in Austria's daily life. One defined not by survival alone, but by the tentative exercise of choice. Yet, beneath the budding prosperity, the memory of ration lines and empty cupboards lingers, a silent reminder of the nation's fragile new balance. As abundance starts to spread, Austrians dare to imagine futures shaped by more than necessity. Young adults discuss dreams previously unspoken. Mothers plan for their children's education and comfort. The city's pulse quickens, illuminated by possibilities once thought unattainable. Yet, every loaf of bread, every full pantry, is treasured with a reverence shaped by recent hardships. A quiet understanding of fortune's fickle nature and the significance of these simple joys. The skyline above Vienna glows in the evening, touched by optimism. While the scars of deprivation remain visible in cautious glances and careful savings, the population grows bold enough to believe in progress. The legacy of aid and cooperation sets the foundation for a society learning to embrace more than mere subsistence. And so, as the chapter closes, Austria stands on the threshold of a future illuminated not by want, but by hope. Chapter 10. A new society emerges. As reconstruction settles over Austria, the country's very foundation is transformed. Schools, once empty shells, fill with the eager footsteps of children and youth. Foreign funds pour into education, rebuilding not just classrooms but hopes for a brighter future. In these restored halls, students encounter new books, new ideas, and teachers trained for a changing era. It is here that Austria's renewal takes root, and hospitals across Austria hum with renewed purpose. Modern equipment, supplied through international aid, replaces makeshift tools and outdated remedies. Physicians are now able to offer treatments that once seemed unattainable. The suffering that shadowed the post-war years gradually recedes as patients receive better care. Health becomes a promise rather than a luxury, giving families comfort and security. The breath of recovery touches city and countryside, uniting all in cautious optimism. This chapter of Austria's recovery is not only about bricks and machines. It is about spirit. And this spirit, communities find strength in newfound opportunities, weaving a social fabric stronger than before. Clubs reopen, orchestras play again, and public celebrations mark anniversaries of peace. Each gathering is a small declaration that life, interrupted by conflict and hardship, is resuming its rhythms. Children's laughter in schoolyards and music, drifting through city squares, become the melody of healing. Generations mingle in this spirit of renewal. Grandparents recall hunger and hardship, recounting stories to those too young to remember shortages and silent streets. But instead of dwelling on loss, these stories now come with lessons of resilience and the importance of community. The whole of Austrian society feels stitched together, each age group learning from the other. Bonds form, linking those who survived with those who will shape the future ahead. Austria stands as a testament to the power of hope and collective effort. From foreign assistance and local determination grows a new sense of what is possible. The painful memories of deprivation are not forgotten, but they are now countered by evidence of progress, bustling schools, efficient hospitals, vibrant neighbourhoods. A new generation, shaped by both memory and possibility, embraces the challenge of building a just and flourishing society for years to come. Chapter 11. The Legacy of Recovery. By the mid-1950s, Austria's transformation stands as a testament to what perseverance can achieve. The jagged skyline of cranes and glass now shares the horizon with the spires of restored cathedrals. Where once there was silence and rubble, now laughter echoes from newly built playgrounds and fresh paint glimmers on bustling shopfronts. This was a country where wounds had once run deep. Now, resilience and hope quietly anchored daily life. Skyscrapers rise where ruins once cast shadows. Apartments unfurl across sprawling blocks, with each corner built anew with funds and materials that arrived from across the Atlantic. Yet, for Austrians, these changes were more than mere bricks and mortar. The Marshall Plan, while economic in its machinery, delivered a renewal of spirit. Streets buzzed with purpose, families found steadier ground, and the fog of uncertainty gave way to the pursuit of happiness. Industry awakened. Factories thrum with the pulse of modern machinery, and railway stations, once dormant, brim again with travellers bound for work and reunions. Schools offer promise to the next generation, their classrooms filled with curiosity. Austria's recovery is more than a fiscal ledger restored to balance. It is the restoration of faith in the future. Through each repaired bridge and reopened bakery, the country reclaims a sense of belonging and quiet pride. The Marshall Plan's true legacy reveals itself not only in prosperity, but in the renewed trust among neighbours. Though the world remained divided by ideology, Austria's population learned that solidarity and shared effort could heal rifts left by conflict. Community festivals returned, and rebuilt opera houses opened their doors anew. The nation's survival became a beacon, showing that economic strength could, in fact, flow from compassion. As the 1950s progress, memories of hunger and hardship fade into lessons inscribed upon the national conscience. Austrians look forward, and Pani Jan, determined never to forget what was won so dearly, or the fragility of peace secured in uncertain times. The legacy of recovery is preserved in every cornerstone relayed, in the unity forged within divided years, and in the quiet vow to safeguard the promise of tomorrow for generations yet to come. Chapter 12. Echoes through generations. As the dust of war settled over Austria, the profound transformation began to reveal itself. Not only in rebuilt factories or reopening schools, but in the subtle resilience that took root within a battered society. Austria's journey, once shaped by deprivation, now guided by hope, started to echo far beyond its alpine borders, becoming a lesson whispered among the nations of a war-weary Europe. The lessons of unity and vision spread as Austria's perseverance was watched closely by neighbours near and far. The path from hunger to renewal burned like a quiet beacon, inviting others to believe in healing. Despite scars left by the conflict, communities pulled together, inspired by the aid and alliances formed in those desperate years. The hardship endured turned into a living memory, one not forgotten but cherished for the strength it revealed in the nation's character. Austria's narrative, fueled by the Marshall Plan's enduring promise, inspired future generations to seek progress without forgetting the past. The faded photographs, ration cards, and handwritten letters became heirlooms of sacrifice and determination. Each family carried stories of endurance through the decades, passing on the wisdom that prosperity could only be protected by remembering the yoke of deprivation once borne. The echo of aid received pulsed quietly beneath daily life, shaping what the country would become. As Europe modernized, Austria's post-war renewal became a cornerstone in conversations about the continent's recovery. The rebuilding of cities and spirits alike stood as a silent testament to international cooperation. Through changing seasons and shifting governments, the memory of shared hardship fostered a spirit of unity. Not just within Austria, but as part of a collective European identity built on hope, partnership, and the determination to overcome darkness with collective light. Today, the echoes of those transformative years remain palpable. Woven into the way Austrians celebrate, commemorate, and contribute to a global community. The journey traced from desperation to dignity is alive in both public monuments and private memories. It serves as a reminder that even as old photos fade, the legacy of resilience and renewal persists, offering a guiding example to all who seek to heal from the hardships of history. Thanks for watching Echoes of Empire. Hope to see you soon and explore more world history with us.